Okay, today we're going to be unwrapping our clay. Hopefully I tied it not in a knot so that you can just pull the one side and undo it. And like I said, this clay, or this plastic, is pretty thin. Oops, I have a hole in mine. So you should be able to unwrap it pretty easily. And I provided you with another bag, so it looks like my plastic has some holes in it, but it'll still work. So I'm going to set it here, and then I'm going to take my string and wrap it around my fingers, kind of like dental floss, and I'm just going to take off a 1-inch portion. We're going to be doing something with the clay today, and then so again I just took it and I held it there and I just pulled one side through so that I could take a hunk of clay off. And now I'm going to set it to the side. And this clay we're going to not be firing, we're just going to experiment with it. So the clay that I have set to the side here, I am going to wrap up again so it doesn't dry out. Just make sure that it's all covered and wrap it up and set it to the side. So now some of you will need to maybe do this outside, or if you're on a table, maybe you want to bring your tar paper with you and do it on your sidewalk or something if your table's a little rickety and it's not that strong, because you're going to take your fist I made it that mute for you so it wasn't so loud, but you're going to pound it down, pick it up, and turn it over. So the reason that I turn it over every time is now I'm going to turn it over again, is that now it's nice and smooth. I don't have my marks of my hand on there. And then what I really like to do is take it and toss it a couple times, just to thin it out like that. Okay, I said that you were going to use your tools. So the first step is to take your tools and we're going to look at texture. Now texture is when you are pressing into the clay, but you're doing it very close together. You're not doing it all far apart. So you're changing the surface of the clay so that now the surface is not smooth, but it has texture in it. And I'm noticing that you pull it up, you could do something like that. These are just experiments. So I'm changing the surface of the clay. So I want you to go and play with your tools. I'm going to do a few more here, and then I'll show you what I have. Okay, you are done when you have the whole thing filled up. So as you can see, I took my tool. Remember I said we were going to use your tools, and I pressed them into here that I made for cutting. I actually thought this would be a good cutting tool, but I used it to press in. I used the fork or the spork to drag. I pressed it. I used this tool to create little things. I also could have done little circles with this side, but you need to fill the entire thing up with the tools that you have created, and then some that I've just added in there. So that went there, this was here, this was there. And so for my tool setup, what I want you to do now is snap a picture so that you can turn the picture in. So this is your first texture exploration, and your second one is going to be with found objects. Okay, I have my picture taken, so now I'm going to reuse this clay. So I'm just going to fold. So now I'm ready for some new texture on here. So I have gone around the house in the yard and found some things to experiment with texture. So your second picture I would like you to upload are some things that you have found either in your yard or your house to make texture. So the first thing I found was pasta. So I'm gonna take that pasta, I'm gonna roll it in to see what kind of shape. Actually, I love that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is so cool. It creates these lines. So cool. Okay, I did too many of those. Next, I'll take my pen cap and I'm just gonna make some circles real close together. And I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so if you'll see, I did my pasta there. You saw me do that. I did my pen caps there. I took kind of a unopened pine cone and rolled it across the surface, which is pretty cool. I pressed my leaf in, which I can't really see, but then I did press some pine needles in, which I can see really pretty well. And I like that. Be careful with nature because it does get stuck into the clay. So before I wrap the clay up today, I'm going to take my needle tool that I made and kind of take that stuff out if there's anything extra in there. If you would like to continue, you can turn it over and do more, but I would like you to put your things next to it that you have done and snap a picture so that I can see what you've experimented with. So you need to upload the 2 pictures or more. So again, if I decide that I want to continue, I can flip it over, and I really did like the pine needles. So I'm just going to push it in. You know, if you have a rolling pin, you can kind of roll this into the clay. You just have to make sure all the pine needles will come out. So you guys that want to go to town on this, you can go ahead, and everything takes experimentation. So we're not keeping these, but we're discovering what happens when we press things into clay. And it's really the magic of clay. So the magic of clay is that you can press into there and it remembers what you pressed into it. So I would like to see your tools along with what textures that you have made. So again, to get an A, you're gonna have to have made those tools, and I have to see them. And then I would like you to experiment with at least 3 to 5 things that you find around your house or yard. And then if you want to upload a third picture, you certainly can. So to make slip, we need to make some slip in our slip container. So you're going to take a little pieces of clay, just little pieces, and pinch them out. And you're going to need to let this clay dry out. We're going to learn about the stages of clay. This clay is very wet right now. We need it to become bone dry. And then we're going to make some slip out of it. So I'm just pinching little pieces between my fingers. Let's see. I have 10 to 12 pieces of clay. So they're going to go in here. Now, if you were using this for your little tools, you do have a bag, remember, so I can put, if I don't want to get poked with my needle tool, I can put my needle tool and other smaller tools in here and wrap that up. So I need these to dry out, so I'm going to set these out somewhere. If you can't leave your station set up, you're going to have to just set these out somewhere so that they can dry. And then this clay, I'm going to ball back up, make sure all the natural materials are out of it, kind of squash it together, make sure it's all nice and combined together, and then I'm going to take my clay and open it back up. Your clay does dry out the more that you work with it, so be careful about overworking your clay, but I'm going to put it into here. And just smash it back down, and then I'm going to wrap my clay back up. Be careful if some of your plastic has holes in it. Make sure that you double the part that has a hole in it. I think it was from the cart. So now I'm gonna wrap it back up. Tie it on top. Do a bow if you can, it's easier. And now this part here, I have provided you with a sponge. So you can certainly go and get some water and you can wash off the tar paper. Sometimes it'll stay a little bit dusty, but then if you keep rinsing your sponge and don't have it too wet, that tar paper is gonna stay a lot cleaner and produce a lot less dust for you. So now go rinse that out and then organize your space at the end of every work session. And I'm gonna put all my tools back in here. You are gonna wanna clean off your tools. So if you have a bucket of water handy, you can just put that in a bucket of water. Otherwise those crumbs can go into the garbage. And so now, like I said, we don't have the little bag for our tools. So now, I'm gonna wait for those to dry for tomorrow. And then my natural materials I'm gonna put back outside or throw the pasta away. And then your sandpaper you can put in your bag as well. We may need that later, or we may not. And fold that up. And now, I am ready for my next work session. So turn your pictures in and clean your entire space up and rinse out your sponge. And then you're good for the day.